Vigil, Ante, and the Vigilante Antics by BelleAmant. Read by Oakshadow5. Chapter 25. The Second Day. The second day of school starts in a similar manner to the first. Izuku and Itoshi wake up, get ready for the day, and hop in the car after a quick breakfast. The boys slip into the support lab once again, and toy around with different odds and ends for a while until the 5-minute bell rings. Then they race to the class, slipping into their seats mere seconds before Eraserhead, Aizawa, appears. He looks at Izuku and Itoshi, who are, luckily, seated in the same row, with Izuku sitting before Itoshi, and nods in approval before starting the day. Homeroom is quick, with only 10 minutes before Yamada barges in, eager to teach their English class. Aizawa leaves, letting Yamada start without pause. As if anyone could get between Yamada and his beloved English. Not even his husband stands a chance. If Izuku hadn't woken up when his alarm went off, listening to his guardian / second favorite hero yell about verb tenses would definitely do the trick. It's nice seeing the blonde become so enthusiastic because of his job. Izuku and Itoshi never really stuck around for class sessions, not wanting to interrupt or get in the way. Or be noticed, but that's irrelevant. Now, though, Izuku gets to watch on as Yamada rambles about the lesson, and it's a good thing. It's normal, Izuku supposes, in a way he's never had before. Of course, any semblance of calm that Izuku may have felt promptly gets thrown out of the window when he realizes that Samantha is his modern literature teacher. Remember when we saw him in the grocery store? Hitoshi asks, and Izuku can only sink into his seat and try not to die from this odd amalgamation of excitement and embarrassment. Third hour is worse for his health, somehow, but that's not quite so surprising when it's Kayama-sensei teaching the class. Kayama-sensei, who immediately forgot her common-seductive persona to squeal like a schoolgirl upon seeing Izuku and Itoshi. They get odd looks at that, but third hour manages to pass, and fourth hour with ectoplasm seems almost easy after that. And then lunch arrives, and Izuku finds himself nearly startled by the blur of blue that races over to his desk. Then he recognizes that blue hair. It smells up at Tenaida just as the boy asks. Midoriya-kun, Shinzo-kun, would you like to join me for lunch? Izuku agrees easily, and lets Tena take the lead as they head to the cafeteria. They hop onto the lunch line, get their meals, and then find an empty table near the windows. Izuku sits down next to Itoshi, and Tenya sits across from them. They all start to eat, content for just a moment. Then Tenya cuts to the silence, asking, So, how have you two been? Izuku smiles, pausing his eating to say, We've been well, Ida-kun. How about you? I've been well as well. He's stiffer than I remember, Izuku notices, the tenseness more obvious than it had been back when they last ran into each other. That's good, Hitoshi says, contributing to the conversation. Your classmates still assholes by the time you left. You shouldn't use such language to describe others, Tenya scolds, but then he cracks a small smile. Although the description may be accurate, it is still impolite. Of course, Hitoshi says, but he's smirking. Izuku lets out a small giggle, and feels better when some of the tension seeps out of Tenya's shoulders. Anyways, Tenya says, hand chopping through the air as if cutting that branch of conversation short. I thought you two were doing online schooling. I was quite surprised to see you two here. We don't live in the grocery store, Izuku jokes, causing Tenya to sputter. But yeah, we did online schooling, but we decided to change things up a bit. I see, that makes sense. It is quite foolish to assume that one would never consider a change in pace. Tenya agrees easily, nodding all the while. What made you come to UA, if I may ask? Nezu did, Izuku thinks, but that's not really a viable answer without getting into the whole secret vigilantes, were, and kind of still, but not really, thing. Instead, he says, Well, Toshi and I always wanted to be heroes, and UA is the best place to go for that. How admirable, Tenya beams, another chop emphasizing his enthusiasm. I, too, have always wanted to be a hero. My brother has always been a source of inspiration for me, and I hope to be more like him as I grow older. Oh, right, your brother's Ingenium, Hitoshi says casually, as if they haven't been chased around the city dozens of times by the man. I'm sure you do great, Ida-kun. That gets a full smile of the blue-haired male, and Izuku feels good, knowing that they brought the joy out of him. Lunch carries on peacefully, with Tenya asking the duo about their whereabouts and any interesting events that have occurred since he last saw them, the boys answering and asking questions of their own. It's nice, normal, and Izuku lets himself revel in the chance to just be an average teenager, catching up with a friend he hasn't seen in years. On the way back to class, Izuku perks up and says, "Oh, Ida-kun, Toshi and I finally got cell phones if you want to exchange numbers." The statement causes Tanya to beam, and he agrees immediately, saying, "Of course I would. It'd be nice to be able to keep in touch with both of you, even when we aren't in school. You?" Hitoshi asks, eyebrow raised, and Tanya looks sheepish. "I was worried that I'd never see you two again, when we stopped seeing you at the store," Tanya admits. "When I saw you yesterday, I assumed you may have forgotten about me by now." "No way," Izuku protests. "Ida-kun, we never forgot about you. We just got unlucky with our timing, that's all." "We are glad to be around you," Hitoshi adds, and Tanya nods sharply. "Thank you. I'm glad to have you two back in my life, even if it took so long to see you once more." Izuku beams, because there's no words to describe how wanted he feels, and how much he adores the feeling. The second day is a good one, Izuku decides, and he doubts that anything can spoil his mood. After all, the only close remaining is their hero training, and that's bound to be good, right? For once, fortune may just favor him. When their teacher barges through the door, blonde hair and white smile instantly recognizable, Izuku knows one thing. He is pumped. "Grab your costumes and head to Battleground Theater!" All Might, it's fucking All Might, says, and then he's disappearing through the door, cape whipping behind him. "Toshi!" Izuku manages to get out, and his friend smirks. "All three of your favorites, huh?" Hitoshi teases, and Izuku reaches out to smack at the taller boy. "Toshi, you said that like your favorite is now a homeroom teacher?" Izuku chides, but the boy is still laughing as they head down to the locker rooms to change. Their costumes are nice, Izuku supposes. Practical too. Izuku has a dark green jumpsuit with black accents, most notably the elbow pads and knee pads that give him some extra protection, along with a belt with a few pockets and spots for his gear. He also wears a metal respirator that covers his lower face, in lieu of the voice modifier that he no longer needs. With this, Izuku adds his own creations to the mix. For today, he slips on his sunburst shoes and some fire-resistant black gloves. Then, he pulls out the weapons that he managed to bring in so far. His trusty staff and some of his flash and smoke bombs. Because sometimes you just need a few distractions, Izuku had said when questioned. The rest of his gear is left back in Izuku and Hitoshi's room, stored in the closet for the time being. Hitoshi's hero outfit is similar, because the boys wanted to match. He wears a dark purple jumpsuit with the same black accents, although along with the belt, he also wears a strap that crosses over his chest, resembling a sort of sash. The sash has a few straps on the back, which Hitoshi happily secures his baseball bat into before slipping his retractable staff into the belt, along with a few smoke bombs of his own. Finally, the boy dons his voice modifier and his capture weapon, pulls on his black gloves, and tucks on some black boots that are designed to reduce noise. They look at each other and smile. Their outfits are similar to the Vigilante ones, and in Izuku's case, very similar. But there's enough differences that the classmates will, at most, suspect that the similarities are coincidences or due to inspiration. After all, it isn't public knowledge that the infamous Vigilante duo was a couple of teens with nothing better to do. And besides, not many people can even remember what the duo actually looked like. That doesn't mean that the boys aren't a little wary, of course. There's a reason that neither boy brought their knives, even if the school would approve of them. There's a reason Izuku is waiting a little bit before he brings out his own capture weapon. There's a reason that neither boy hides their face or hair. And their efforts pay off, because the most acknowledgement the two get on their outfits is a cheery, "Yo, those are nice, you two look like a team already," from Kaminari, and some general noises of agreement. Izuku smiles as he walks alongside Hitoshi, quickly joining the rest of the class, who stand around All Might with excitement. "Alright!" All Might shouts, gathering their attention and holding it in place. "For our first activity, we will be doing battle simulations!" But shouldn't we learn the basic foundations of heroics first? The frog girl, Izuku thinks her name is Asui, points out. "You learn the foundations through action. The best training is what you get on the battlefield." All Might defends. Which, yeah, Izuku supposes the man is right. Nothing sticks a lesson into your brain more than avoiding a knife wound, after all. Except, maybe, getting stabbed with the knife. "This will be a battle of heroes against villains. Now, most news stories talk about fights outside, but most happen indoors. As such, you'll have two heroes versus two villains inside one of these buildings." How will we be deciding who wins? A girl with black hair, Roso, asks. How much can we hurt the other team? Bakugo asks, sneering. Do we have to worry about the losers getting expelled like we did earlier? The gravity girl, Uraraka, wonders nervously. Will you be splitting us up based on chance or comparative skill? Tene asks. Isn't this cape magnifique? A sparkly blonde asks, and Izuku can admit, the cape is pretty cool. I wasn't finished talking! Ahmed cuts in, and the class quiets down. Pulling out a script, the number 1 hero continues. Listen up! The situation is this. The villains have hidden a nuclear missile somewhere in the hideout. The heroes must try to foil their plans. To do that, the heroes must either catch the evildoers or recover the weapon. Likewise, the villains succeed if they capture the heroes or manage to defend the weapon for the entire battle. Time is limited, and we will choose teams through lottery! Ahmed announces after a dramatic pause, pulling out a box and brandishing it for his young students to see. The 20 students just blink at him. So, he continues. I will draw out names, and that is how teams will be decided. You're choosing our teams randomly? Ida asks, confusion apparent. Shouldn't you be planning around strengths and weaknesses? It doesn't always work like that, Ida-kun. Midoriya says calmly, pulling down his respirator so that he can be heard more easily. When you're rushing to a scene, you don't know who else will be there. Team-ups will happen at a moment's notice, and you have to figure out a plan from there. Well said, young Midoriya. Ahmed cheers, and watches the grenade nod before moving on. Now, let us see who our teams will be. Quickly, the number 1 hero draws out 2 slips. Team A will be Midoriya and Shinzo, he announces, and is promptly surprised by the reaction. Namely the very poorly concealed, oh, fuck, that makes its way out of Kaminari's mouth, but the other concerned expressions seem to hold the sentiment as well. Midoriya and Shinzo, for their part, look at each other with open glee. They must be friends, Ahmed thinks, glancing at the boys' matching outfits, then shrugs the thought off. Team B will be Todoroki and Shoji. Team C is Yarosa and Uraraka. Team D is Ida and Bakugo. Team E is Ashido and Aoyama, while Team F is Sato and Koda. Team G will be Kaminari and Jiro, and Team H is Tokiyami and Asui. Team I is Ojiro and Hagakure, and lastly, Team J is Kirishima and Saro. Ahmed watches his students as they move to find their respective partners, expressions ranging from happy reactions, such as Yarosa and Uraraka, to more upset ones, like Bakugo with Ida. He wonders how the battles will progress. Alright, Ahmed shouts, garnering their attention once again. The fights will also be picked by lottery. The first fight will go as follows. Team A is the heroes, and Team D is the villains. The area becomes so silent, one could hear a pin drop. The class stares at the 4 boys in question, and Ahmed, once again, wonders what will happen. He's feeling less sure of himself with every passing second of silence, however. Clearing his throat, Ahmed says, Okay, the villains and heroes will each get an earpiece. The earpiece for the heroes will allow them to communicate with one another, and the villains will be the same. I will be able to hear everything that is said, and will be able to speak to anyone as needed. If an opponent is captured, I will announce it. If I deem the fight too unsafe to continue, I will stop it immediately. With that said, you have 5 minutes to create a plan, and 15 minutes after that to try to win. Good luck! It's only once Ahmed has herded the rest of the class to the viewing room, and the other 4 have left, that the students start to speak once again. This is going to be intense, Kaminari says, eyes focused on the screens. Currently, there's not much to watch. Ida and Bakugo are making sure the bomb room is set up, with Ida purposely putting objects in the way of the bomb, while Bakugo paces around the room. Midoriya and Shinzo, on the other hand, stand at the doorway with maps in hand, heads down as they discuss a plan. Yeah, it is, Sarah agrees, leaning against the wall. I mean, did you see them yesterday? Midoriya and Shinzo gotta be close, so they're probably a good team already. And Bakugo seems to know them, because he was yelling up a storm at Midoriya. What was he calling Midoriya earlier? Ashido asks. A deck? No, he was yelling Deku, Sarah corrects. But doesn't that mean useless? Kirishima asks, and Ahmed glances back to see the redhead frowning. That's so not manly. Well, then I hope Midoriya wins, Ashido shouts. He's gotta do it. Yeah, Kaminari cheers. Beat his ass, Midoriya. Language? Ahmed reminds the electric Sheen, who laughs nervously. Ah, children. A beep from the timer is enough to redirect Ahmed's attention back to the screens. Picking up his microphone, he says, Alright, time begins. Now! You have 15 minutes! And the first battle begins. Only 1 minute passes before Ahmed realizes that these pairings might have been his worst ones. Well, Midoriya and Shinzo seem to be doing fine. Actually, they're doing wonderfully, and he's so scared to find out why. No, it's not them. It's who he pitted them up against. It only takes a few seconds for Bakugo to stray away from the bomb room, storming off and leaving Ida to himself. Only Ahmed can hear Bakugo's angry, "Deku, where the hell are you?" that emanates throughout the empty halls. This might not go well, Ahmed thinks, and then he's proven right. Ochako Uraraka is a lot of things. Nervous? Yeah, she's pretty nervous right now. Excited? Yeah, she's sure that, between Yarosa and herself, they can come up with a pretty good plan and be a great team. She's also realizing, however, that her classmates are strong. She knew that already, of course, but now, watching the screen as the first battle trail plays out before her eyes, Ochako wonders just how strong everyone is. An explosion lights up the screen, and when it fades away, Ochako can only see 2 people on the screen where 3 once stood only seconds ago. Huh? Ochako hears someone. Ashido, she thinks, murmur. Where'd the purple one go? He ran off! Kirishima shouts, pointing to a different screen. Sure enough, the boy is racing through the halls, head turning ever so slightly as he looks around. That's so not manly, bro. He left Midoriya all alone. I think that was the plan, Tsui says, seemingly the only calm one right now. And besides, it doesn't look like Midoriya needs the help. A single glance back to the first screen shows that the froggy girl is right. Ochako holds back a gasp as Midoriya grabs Bakugo by the arm before flipping the blonde over his shoulder, slamming the explosive boy into the ground before throwing down a smoke bomb and disappearing as well. Holy shit, Kaminari whispers, ignoring Ahmed's cry of language. Midoriya is going to wreck Bakugo up. Good, Ashido shouts. Serves him right for trying to land an explosion right in Midoriya's face. Poor little guy doesn't deserve that. I wouldn't underestimate him, Suyo says. He seems to know what he's doing. I'm not underestimating him, Ashido squawks. But look at him! Who would want to explode a face like that? Ochako giggles, watching Midoriya on the screen. She can't see his entire expression, the boy crouched behind a corner and mouth covered by his respirator. But what she can see... Oh... Ochako pointedly looks at another screen, trying not to blush as Midoriya's determined gaze flits around on mine. Her sight catches on Shinzo, who is now peering into the bomb room. But he's not going in. Why is he hesitating? Kaminari questions. The bomb's right there. He can just run right up and touch it, no problem. It's blocked off, Jiro points out. Look at all of those boxes. And besides, Ida's right there. He'd probably catch Shinzo right away if he just stomps on in. Guys, look at Bakugo! Hagakuri's voice rings right beside Ochako's ears. He found Midoriya! And he did. Though they have no audio, it's clear that Bakugo is screaming with how much his mouth moves, stands defensive and tense as he lifts a gauntlet-covered hand. Another explosion is released, but Midoriya seems to come out unscathed, dodging it with ease before jumping into the air at Bakugo. He makes contact, knocking the blonde into the ground and landing a solid punch to the face. Ochako cannot but wince, hearing a few sympathetic groans behind her. That'll leave a mark, Sarah says, and Ochako almost feels a little bad for the blonde. In the blink of an eye, though, Bakugo kicks Midoriya off of him, pushing the grenade away. It seems that Bakugo isn't giving up just yet, Tokiyami mutters. Ochako feels herself shaking in anticipation, wondering what will happen. But then, she freezes when Bakugo lifts up a hand, and reaches for his gauntlet with the other. Bakugo! Ahmed is suddenly shouting to the microphone, when Ochako rips her eyes away to stare at their teacher. Bakugo, you're not to use that attack on Midoriya! An explosion of that size will kill him! Ochako can't hear what he's saying, but all she knows is that Ahmed pales. And Bakugo pulls a pin from his gauntlet, releasing an explosion that completely blinds the camera. Dust fills the screen for too long, and Ochako holds her breath as Ahmed continues to call into the microphone, repeating, Midoriya! Midoriya, are you okay? Into the tiny device. Until the dust fades, and Ochako can only see one figure standing. And it's not Bakugo. No, it's Midoriya, who somehow managed to catch Bakugo with the capture tape where the camera is covered. Midoriya waves at the camera, pulling down his respirator to show that there's a smile on his face. For good measure, the boy even flashes a peace sign. He doesn't even have a scratch on him. Yarosa whispers beside Ochako, a smile on her face. Bakugo of the villain team has been captured! All Might shouts, but Ochako can hear the surprise on his voice. 7 minutes remain on the timer! Ochako watches Midoriya with excitement, wondering what he'll do next. He's going to head up to Shinzo, right? Ochako thinks to herself. I mean, it only makes sense. There's no way Shinzo can take on Ida alone. Ida of the villain team has been captured! The heroes win! All Might proclaims, cutting off Ochako's thoughts and leaving her gaping. Midoriya hadn't even moved. He hadn't even tried. No, the brunette was just leaning against the wall, still smiling up at the camera. What? But I thought... Yaorazu rests a hand on her shoulder, saying, You missed it, didn't you? I saw you watching Midoriya, but Shinzo handled it by himself. I'm not sure how, actually, but he just walked up to Ida and wrapped the tape around his wrists. That's odd. Ochako doesn't know how to feel as she watches Midoriya, who moves from his resting position to try untapping Bakugo. Bakugo doesn't let him come close, however, choosing to march off with the tape still wrapped around his upper body. Midoriya just shrugs and leans back against the wall, waiting until Shinzo and Ida come on screen before heading out of the building. When Midoriya enters the viewing room, he smiles bashfully as the rest of the class begins to make comments about the fight. That was so cool! Kaminari shouts. You flipped him like it was nothing! Kirishima cheers, leaning in close. That was so manly, dude! You two just went in and were like, BAM! Ashido slams her fists together. It was wicked! But Midoriya just sidles closer to Shinzo as they pour compliments onto him, rubbing at the back of his neck. It was nothing really, Midoriya says softly. And Ochako feels a little intimidated when she realizes that it probably wasn't. Not for him at least. Not for Shinzo either. Clearly not, she means to herself, considering that neither has a scratch or a speck of sweat on their bodies. She's curious as to why this is nothing to them. But she's also a little afraid to find out the answer. Hopefully, when she does, it won't be something bad. She can only hope. Oh my gosh, this chapter was long as heck. But we got to see the battle trial of Midoriya and Shinzo. That they paired up together was like the most amazing thing. But anyways guys, I hope you all enjoyed chapter 25 of Vigil, Ante and the Vigilante Antics. And I'll see you all next time. Bye!